Hello everyone, welcome to the TriStar Gym channel. Hello. As usual, please give me a quick thumbs up if the sound is loud and clear. Give me that thumbs up. Salam alaikum. Hello everyone. Bonjour tout le monde. Welcome. Hello. Thank you for that thumbs up. Zaki, salam alaikum as well. O'Day, creative learning. Thank you guys. Thank you for that thumbs up. Today we're going to be talking about what is the best striking style, what is the best striking art. We're going to start off with that topic today, and there's so much to talk about. So many things going on. Biden versus Trump, the exciting election. American elections never disappoint. Probably the most exciting thing on TV these days. And but of course, before we talk about all these great competitors out there, all these great fights going on, all these great battles, let's first talk about what is the greatest striking art. All right, let me get set up here and let's get started. Also, I want to give you guys a sneak preview at our latest and greatest new invention at timtam.tech. Watch this bad boy here. Check this thing out right here. Hold on one second. Let me make sure we get a perfect view. Look at this bad boy. The world's smallest, most powerful, the world's smallest high-powered massager. We got 4 speeds on this bad boy. Let me turn it on here. Hold this for 2 seconds. Power comes on. Speed 1. Check this bad boy out. Speed 2. Speed 3. Speed 4. Incredible power in this massager. High stopping force. Really strong. Super powerful. And as you can hear, it is ultra quiet. It comes with 3 tips. It is on sale right now at timtam.tech. Make sure to go to timtam.tech and get this, the greatest Christmas gift, the greatest holiday gift for anybody. If you know anybody who does jiu-jitsu, make sure you get them this. This gift will not disappoint. I guarantee you they will be extremely happy. Right now we got a special bundle for sale at timtam.tech. Make sure, if you got the budget for it, make sure to get this bad boy. This is the world's greatest high-powered massager with heat. The only one in the world with heat. When you buy that Pro, okay, this machine here, this monster, you get this one for free. Okay, so head over to timtam.tech. This is the special they're running this year. This is the world's most powerful massager, guys. Check this out. The furthest travel, highest stopping power in the world. Okay. As you can hear, it's much more powerful. It's very powerful. Okay, it's a brushless motor. It's the quietest, most powerful motor you can get. It has the highest stopping power than any other massager, and it's the only one in the world with heat. Now, if you're crazy like me, you need one of those machines because I'm using it all the time. Keeps me healthy, keeps me young. If you're not as serious in the training hours, get one of these bad boys. But if you're crazy serious, hella serious, mega serious, get both. You get this one for free when you buy the Pro. Okay, guys, don't forget, this video is brought to you by timtam.tech. I'm a huge supporter and huge believer and the #1 customer. I am the world's #1 Timtam user. I'm the biggest fan of this company, okay? With that said, let's get started and talk about what is the greatest. One moment here, guys. Technical difficulty as usual. Okay, we're back on. Okay, good. Okay, guys, what is the best striking art? What is the best #1 striking art in the game? Well, in my opinion, if we're talking about street fighting, okay, if we're talking about street fighting, fighting in the street, which you should never do unless you're defending yourself or someone else in need. You should never street fight. Okay, Coach doesn't advocate for street fighting. But the #1 striking art, if I had to choose one, I would pick Muay Thai. Why would I pick Muay Thai? Because Muay Thai, there's clinching involved. Of course, there's knees, elbows, punches, and kicks. You know, the 8 limbs. And there's every distance. So you have kicks, long distance, punches, medium distance, knees, short distance, and up close and personal, you got the elbows. So for me, in my opinion, if I was in a street battle, I would pick Muay Thai 100%. The problem with the other arts is they all lack some range. Like for instance, let's say you were to pick karate. Karate is a great art. I'm also a black belt in karate. The problem with karate, there's no up close and personal trench fighting. Like if you get really close to me, generally speaking, karate doesn't spend a lot of time training the close combative part. There's no real clinching in karate. Okay, very little. There's very little trips and throws. And very little elbow use, very little knee use. So if somebody grabs onto you, you're up close, you're in a fight, you're in a very narrow place. There's not a lot of room to move around. Karate is a bit difficult. Karate is fantastic when you have a lot of space. That's why you see a karate is more effective in the octagon than it is in the ring. In my opinion, if you have a Muay Thai guy and a karate guy and they're fighting in the ring, the Muay Thai fighter has a great advantage. The corners and generally rings are much smaller than the octagon. However, when you put the same two fighters in an octagon, now the karate guy, he can start to work. The side kick is going to work more. The kicking style, having the hands down and really having a wide stance, that makes I have a lot of room now. If you try to kick my leg, I can move back. I can punch you on your way in when you're coming forward to punch to attack me. I could step back and punch, which is the heart of karate is the footwork, the distance management, keeping the fighter at a distance. Generally speaking, you want to hit him with your leg and not use your hand as much, because when you use your hand, you got to get closer to him. And the closer you get to him, the more in danger you are. Now we have boxing. Boxing is also phenomenal. Like sometimes all you need is a great punch. One punch can do it all. By the time you throw your kick, I already intercepted you with a punch and the fight is over. Boxing is a must know. Okay, boxing is a must know. And I love boxing. I do a tremendous amount of boxing. The sweet science, as they call it. Problem with boxing is if the guy kicks you or knees you or grabs onto you, you have no defense, right? Boxers don't do much clinching. Now, I know a lot of you are going to be like, Coach, that's not true. So many boxers are good at clinching. Yes, there are good clinchers in the boxing world when it comes to clinching boxers. But if you go try that with a Muay Thai guy, it's gonna hurt. It's not gonna go well. Okay, so I'm talking about a Muay Thai guy and a boxer guy clinching. 99 times out of 100, the Muay Thai guy is going to come out on top. He's going to land the elbow and knee. He's going to throw the boxer to the ground. Those boxing clinch tactics won't work against a Thai guy. It'll be laughable. Okay, this is not an attack on boxing. I love boxing. Boxing is a great art, but the techniques that they use in boxing for clinching are laughable in Muay Thai. Of course, and that's only because of the rule set. Boxing coaches are super intelligent. They're working within a frame of rules they're allowed. Okay, they're not allowed to do so many things you're allowed to do in Muay Thai. That's why the techniques developed the way they did. There's a lot of brilliant coaches in boxing, absolutely, but because of the rules, they can't take boxing clinching to a street level or a fight level that's comparable to Muay Thai. It's just not comparable. Now we also have kickboxing. Kickboxing, for me, karate and kickboxing are very close to one another. Okay, I consider it almost the same art. Okay, there are differences, but the ranges are the same, and you can have a lot. If you look at the history of kickboxing, there's so many great karate guys, and the rules are very, they're compatible, let's say. So if I had to pick one art for the street, I pick Muay Thai. What if I had to pick one art for the octagon? For the ring. Let's go with the ring first. If I had to pick one art for the ring, I would put primarily Muay Thai, then boxing. A mixture of Muay Thai and boxing. If you put me in the octagon now I favor all three. Muay Thai, boxing, and karate. The karate kicks now have the breathing room, the distance they need to work. Because karate, don't forget, karate was not developed with a barrier. There was no ring ropes. There was no barriers. So the second you put a karate guy in a corner, and if you guys ever seen the fight between Nicky Holskin and Raymond Daniels, I would like to see that fight in an octagon, a third match, a rubber match, but this time in a really large octagon, because you'll notice that Raymond Daniels, arguably the greatest karate guy ever, he got in trouble when he was in the ropes. He got in trouble when he was in the ropes. When he was in the ropes, that's when Nicky Holskin really put it on him. But in the open stance, in the distance, I think Raymond Daniels is the most dangerous striker ever. In the open area. So with that said, guys, the octagon lays room for a mixed martial striking, if you will. Okay, mixed martial striking, super important to have it all in the octagon. Boxing, Muay Thai, karate, the back kicks, the spin kicks, the side kicks, the oblique kicks, the snap kicks, all that's going to work. You know, we saw a famous knockout. Joaquim did a famous knockout. You could say that, you could see that in Muay Thai, but also that's really karate, really kickboxing. That maneuver he did where his foot was caught and then he spun around and threw a kick. Extremely karate oriented. So you see these kind of kicks that you wouldn't necessarily see in a Muay Thai fight, where things are so condensed, so crowded. If you try to spin too much, you can get hurt. You can get countered. With that said, guys, let me open up to your comments and questions. So we're going to be more of a two-way street conversation here and have a little more fun. Okay, you can kick with your foot wearing boots. That's from What a Movie. That is very true. Listen, guys, this is a very good comment. When you kick with shoes, it is very powerful. Like, I'll tell you a quick story. I had one fighter fighting in Japan. And he was fighting Cal Uno. Ivan Menjivar was fighting Cal Uno. Now, Ivan Menjivar went up a weight class to fight Cal Uno. So Menjivar was a 45er. He's fighting a 55er. We go all the way to Japan. And we're at the rules meeting. And the rules meetings, they're telling us, the Japanese are telling us, you're allowed to wear shoes in the ring. Now, we didn't know this. We flew all the way there. We signed the contract. We didn't know that there's shoes in there. And they were saying you can kick with shoes. Now, I objected. I raised my hand and I said, look, we weren't told we can wear shoes. And I find that the kicking with the shoes is unfair because Uno's now claiming he's going to wear shoes. At the rules meeting, he's claiming he's going to wear shoes in the fight. And they were telling us that he's going to wear shoes and they okayed it. Now, they said you have to have a particular shoe. They can't be any type of lace. Like, he had the right shoe. He had a shoe for kicking and they had that one shoe for him. And he's wearing shoes in the fight. Well, I said that was totally unfair. Number one, my double leg is a lot more powerful if I have shoes. Absolutely. Like, if you guys don't know, okay, wrestlers, when they wear shoes, like sometimes we wrestle with wrestlers. They come on the mat with their shoes. We're not wearing shoes. Believe me, it's a massive advantage. Massive. You have far more grip to drive. It makes a huge difference. Massive difference. So I said it's unfair. He's going to have a massive difference in wrestling. You know, when he shoots, he's going to have an advantage. And when he kicks, his kicks are going to be very dangerous. You know, it's not fair. His foot's protected. He can kick as hard as he wants now. And they were like, no, it's not dangerous for the kicking. I couldn't get the rule overturned. We're in Japan already. We flew halfway around the world. We're going to do the fight. We do the fight. Now, guess what happens in the fight? He kicks Menjivar in the knee several times. Nothing like when we were watching the fight. It wasn't like a crippling kick. The fight went to decision. Ivan loses by a hair. Like, he loses by a hair. Okay. On our way back, we were looking at his knee. His knee is like coming out of place, totally coming out of position. Like, what's going on with your knee? Like, his knee is very loose. Like, he didn't feel it in the fight, but then when the adrenaline wore off, he's walking around and his knee's not right. He tore his ACL, PCL, and LCL, all torn. Like, he almost got his knee dislocated. And in my opinion, it had a lot to do with the shoe. I've seen countless fights. I've never seen a guy tear his ACL and PCL from a kick. Never. I've never seen it. If you guys don't know, the ACL and PCL, that's a big deal. That's a really big deal. And if you put a shoe on my foot, I'll kick that guy's knee I'll kick it to shreds. Like, it's common sense. Obviously, your foot is protected. The weight of the shoe adds leverage. Anyways, I couldn't get it overturned. I think it's completely unfair for one fighter to be wearing shoes and the other one not wearing shoes. That's a great observation. Wearing shoes makes a huge difference in a fight. It protects your foot. You can kick a lot harder. It makes a big difference. Michael Venom Page versus Wonder Boy. That's from Dylan. Dylan, that's a great matchup. For those of you who haven't watched Michael Venom Page, go look him up. He's a phenomenal striker. Wonder Boy, you guys know him. You're all UFC fans. Of course, you all know, vast majority of you know Michael Venom Page. They have a similar style. Now, I would favor Wonder Boy. Yes, he's a friend of mine, but I do think also, besides the fact that I know I'm biased towards Wonder Boy, but I think Steven is more tried and true. He's fought bigger names. Here's the thing with Michael Venom Page. I think he's great. I think he's phenomenal. But he's really not fought any big names other. The biggest name he's ever fought was Lima. And Lima's a massive name. Lima's a world-class, legitimate world champion. Incredible. Diego Lima is an amazing fighter. And he got KO'd by Diego Lima. Okay, so this is a great fight to watch. You have this karate master on one side, Michael Venom Page. You have this Muay Thai master on the other side, Diego Lima. You have Muay Thai and karate battling in a cage. Round one, really close. I gave it to Diego Lima. I don't know why some people gave it to Michael Venom Page. The striking was... I remember Diego getting tagged in the striking. Nothing devastating. I don't want to say it was like the end. Oh, he was hanging by a thread. Nothing like that. But he got touched up. And Diego got a takedown. I can't remember the... I have to go back and watch round one. I really do. I'm forgetting now a little bit. Pardon me, okay, for forgetting. But Diego gets on top, kind of controls him. Not much happens on the ground. You could tell that, they got 5 rounds. They're kind of pacing themselves. Fast forward to round 2, exciting round. Michael Venom Page lands like a 1-2, like a karate blitz, like beautiful karate. Here we're watching amazing karate. He gets kicked in the leg. Muay Thai signature, the Muay Thai chopping cut kick. You guys got to watch this fight. You got to watch it. Bellator fight. You could tell that MVP, Michael Venom Page, now his leg is hurt. He's got to get the job done. And he's trying to press the action, and then he kind of bobs his head down and he gets caught with an uppercut. He gets kicked, then caught with an uppercut, and he gets knocked out. Muay Thai took the day. However, it could have gone the other way, guys. This is a competitive fight. If they fought again, I can't tell you that, oh, no, Muay Thai's a lock. He can't lose. I wouldn't say that. Okay. Now, Muay Thai and karate have faced off many, many times. And I would say, I've watched the vast majority of those matchups. Muay Thai wins the majority of the time. Not all the time. Not all the time. Please don't go and misquote me here. Okay. I'm a big fan of karate. I'm a black belt in karate as well. I've done Muay Thai for 20 years. I do Muay Thai. Listen, I practice Muay Thai every single day. 6 days a week. Okay, I take Sundays off often. I do Muay Thai every single day. Every single day I shadow box at least. The very minimum I do is shadow box. Okay. Today I sparred 3 rounds. Just for fun. Just because, that's my workout. That's how I stay fit. Okay. I also throw karate kicks. I spinning kicks. I do all that stuff. I'm a big believer in it all. Okay. So try not to, and I've trained in Thailand. I've trained everywhere in Thailand. Like I'm a Muay Thai fanatic. I love Muay Thai. But I will tell you that if you mix the two, karate and Muay Thai, you got a gem. Now, with that said, MVP lost to Diego Lima. That's not why I'm saying Wonderboy would win. I'm saying because that was the highest competition MVP ever fought. Name me another guy he beat. There's not many big names. Okay, he beat Paul Daly, but that was a 50-50 fight. That fight could have went Paul Daly's way. It could have been called a draw. If you watch that fight, there's no way you're saying that MVP ran away with it. He didn't. Many guys have beat Paul Daly. Now, it was more of a wrestling match. It was surprising because it became a wrestling match. I don't want to get into it because I know a lot of you guys are going to say there wasn't a lot much striking. Well, that's the whole point. I think Steven has beaten better guys. He's been tested more and he's flourished time and time again. Where you could see the MVP has had trouble with some guys you never heard of. That I think Steven would have taken out very likely or dominated even more. I just think that Steven he's doing similar things at a higher level. That's all I can say. That's my opinion on that question. Sage Norcutt versus Cosmo Alexander. Same situation. That's from Matthew Gonzalez. Well, Matthew, let me tell you something. That is one of the most difficult fights I've ever watched. For those of you guys don't know, Cosmo Alexander he's one of the who's of Muay Thai. He's a legitimate Muay Thai master. Okay, he's a world champion. He's a killer. I've trained with him. I've had the privilege of training with him in New York at Phil Nurse's The Wat. A legitimate Muay. The guy's fought Buakaw. He's fought Nikki Holskin. He's fought everybody. And I've trained with Sage Northcutt. Now, Sage Northcutt is very karate. Very karate. I'll tell you something about Sage. Okay, he's a phenomenal athlete. He comes from a karate background. He's got like 1,000 karate fights. Like, I'm telling you, literally. I'm not exaggerating here. I'm not saying that as an expression. Like, he's got like maybe not 1,000, maybe more than 1,000, maybe 800, 1,000, 1,100. I don't know. Like, he's got countless karate fights. He knows everything there is to know about karate. He's been doing karate since he could walk. His father's a karate trainer, karate expert. When Sage was training with me, I brought him to a boxing gym. Now, I do a lot of boxing as well. I train with the Grant brothers. Otis Grant, world champion, fought Roy Jones Jr. I do a lot of boxing for many years. I've been boxing for 20 years. I love boxing, okay? A huge boxing fan. I brought Sage Northcutt to the boxing gym. It was the first time in his career. He was already a pro. He already fought in UFC. It was the first time in his career. He told me he'd never sparred boxing in his entire life. I was like, really? I was shocked. He's like, yeah, we put a headgear on him. He's like, I never put a headgear in my life other than karate headgear. Put on sparring gloves and we made him spar a boxer just boxing. It was the first time in his life. I was amazed. I was like, really? Like, their boxing gyms are a dime a dozen. You never walked into one, like put on the gloves. And he's like, nope. Karate my whole life. So there you have a karate expert specialist versus a Muay Thai specialist. Now, I was trying to implement new, dynamics to Sage's game. Boxing is really, really important because boxing works at a different pace than karate. You have to think about it. Karate, they throw one strike. It's kind of like the old mentality is one strike, one kill. Now, of course, when they started competing in kickboxing, that changed. Karate experts started experimenting more with combinations, etc. However, the tempo of karate is in general, much slower than boxing. Boxing is a high tempo, like, we're not kicking here, so we're a lot closer to one another. And the hands, they have more movement than kicks, right? It's harder to move your leg than your arm. So you get a lot more action. So believe it or not, sometimes boxing is more tiring than kickboxing. Sometimes boxing is more tiring than kickboxing. But you think it doesn't make any sense because in kickboxing, you have to punch plus you have the added effort of kicking. But because you can kick, you can teep, you can keep the guy at a further distance. So the action, the trading is oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes lower. Whereas boxing, the distance is shorter and our hands are far more maneuverable, that you get a lot more action. Now in karate, because of the kicking style, they use their hands a little less. Now we got this match that's even, I would say, at a slower pace. Now, not to say karate is not blindingly fast. It's blindingly fast. There's this explosive action and then there's a rest. Explosive action and extremely explosive. I would say karate is more explosive than all the arts. Karate is like a plyometric. It's incredible the speed you get from these champions, these karate champions. However, once you explode, you need this rest period. Okay, so you can see with Nicky Holskin versus Raymond Daniels, you see Raymond Daniels exploding, and then all of a sudden he needs this rest period, and all of a sudden, another great example is Bazooka Joe. When he beat Raymond Daniels was doing fantastic early on. Then Bazooka Joe just kind of staying on him. And then all of a sudden, those cut kicks were too much. And then you get a head kick and it was the end of the fight. Now, Raymond Daniels, for those of you who are familiar, you've seen him knock people out in one round. He is the greatest kicker I've ever seen. I've had the privilege of working with the guy, training with him, sparring with him. He's the greatest pinpoint kicker I've ever seen. Like, I don't think there's anybody on the earth that can do it like him. He can he can KO you in just seconds. Ready? Go. 30 seconds later, the fight's over. That's Raymond Daniels. Now, if you can get past those first few minutes, which is not easy, there's maybe a chance to slow him down a little, okay, which is not easy. Very few men have done it. Now, back to Sage and I was talking about Sage and Cosmo Alexander. That was a horrific KO. Now, don't forget, that fight happened in a ring. You see Sage kind of circling and trying to create some space. Cosmo faked the left kick, came in with a right hand. He kind of faked two left kicks, which moved Sage back. And Sage got caught up against the ropes. And then he hit him with a hand that literally almost killed Sage. This is one of the most difficult fights for me to watch because Sage got injured so badly. I felt so bad for him. I was very, very concerned for him. Like, I was following him through the news. I was hoping, he's such a young kid, bright guy, a sweet kid, innocent, like really just a humble person, very sweet person. And to see him have an injury like that, and I heard the surgery was very long, I was very concerned for him. I messaged his dad. I was hoping that he was doing fine, and his dad reassured me that he's going to be okay, etc. And it was a very, very difficult thing to watch because of the severity of the injury. But that's an example of Muay Thai having an advantage in the ring. Now, in the octagon, okay, I don't think that I would never ask for that matchup again. But I'm saying in the octagon with more space, I think karate has a way now to shine. Okay, guys, what else we got here on striking? By the way, guys, I've released a new instructional, jujiclub.com. Check it out. It's a striking instructional. Promo code STRIKE5. Get $5 off. It's on Juji Club. It's live right now. Pick up my latest instructional on jujiclub.com. It's a striking instructional. I go over boxing, kickboxing, and some tricky combinations for you guys. Thoughts on coaching boxing but not competing? That's from The Art of Combat. Well, what's there to say? If you enjoy boxing, coach boxing. Get into it. Should I do boxing or kickboxing? That's from Puma Tiger. I think you should do both. I think they're both amazing arts. Okay, so I really believe in keeping healthy. My routine for cardio, I don't do much running. I'll do some running. Okay, I'm not the type of guy I'm not gonna run every day for an hour. No. It's too boring. I go in the gym, I shadow, I go before class, before I teach, I shadow, I hit the bag. In my opinion, bag work is the greatest cardio machine. I'll do some plyometrics, I'll do some running, I'll do some calisthenics. Sometimes I'll swing the kettlebell. Like I'll do whatever fit. Like I use a variety of fitness tools. Variety. But I love to shadow box and hit the bag and then spar. I find that's what keeps me fit. Because sparring for me, if you tell me, coach, let's spar 3, 5, maybe 5 rounds, I'm going to burn more calories than on the treadmill, and I'm going to have a lot more fun, and it's not going to be boring. Like the 3 or 5 rounds that I do is going to pass like a, I'm not even feel like I'm exercising. I'm playing a game. It's like you're saying, hey, how about we play some PlayStation 5? And then, 30 minutes later, I burned 500 calories. It's like, what happened? It's a sport that I enjoy. If I hit the bag, the guys are in the gym, we're talking, we're hanging out, but we're hitting the bag. It's just fun. It's just good fun. Sit on a treadmill and count the calories going up slowly in the mid. Oh man, that's torture. That is torture. I'd rather put on a podcast or something interesting to listen to, an audiobook or whatever you're interested to, music, whatever it is that gets you in the flow, and then go in there and start shadowboxing. Get a good warm up in. Mix in some pull-ups, do 5-10 rounds of that, then put on the gloves, hit the bag for 5-10 rounds. You can be drenched in sweat. Kicking the bag is going to give you incredible flexibility in your legs. You're going to stretch every muscle. You're going to have worked your explosiveness, your endurance, your cardio. It's just it's the best cardiovascular workout. Okay, we got a super chat here. Hey, coach, the book recommendation list doesn't work. Big fan from China. That's from Michael Ma. Michael Ma, I have to check on that. I did put, I keep getting asked all the time for a book recommendation list. I did mine on Amazon and I put it in the link in the description of these videos. It's supposed to be copy and pasted on every video. I'll have to check later. I don't know why it's not working, but I did do it. So I had hoped it was working by now. Thank you for letting me know, and I'll have that fixed, my friend. Okay, here we go. What else we got here, guys? We're on the topic of striking. We got another member here. Hanan, welcome, my friend. Thank you for the support, my friend. Very appreciated. No MMA gyms near me, but I want to start. Any advice? Salam from UK. That's from Zishan. Zishan, yes, start right away. Start shadow boxing. Hitting the bag. If you have no equipment, start with calisthenics and shadow boxing. Calisthenics and shadow boxing. And once in a while, go for a run. Get in shape. Learn online. Get some new techniques online. Find like-minded people and start a club. Start a boxing club. Start a kickboxing club and have fun with it. Being healthy should be fun. Okay, getting in shape should be fun. Okay, how do you deal with anxiety, and any other tips for us dealing with really bad anxiety to the point where it's interfering with day-to-day activities? That's from Muhammad Siriani. Well, Muhammad, that's a huge question. I think I'll circle back to that. Let me just finish up with the striking questions and all that. Muhammad, I will do my best to talk to you about anxiety in a short little bit. I do get that question a lot. I've answered it many times, but I'll try to give you a different take this time. Why kickboxers don't do much head movement compared to boxers? That's from Lord Allman. Well, because you can get kicked in the face, right? If you're slipping too much. If I see a guy slipping, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to fake a jab, or I'm going to fake a 1-2, and I'm going to throw a head kick behind it. Guess what? He's going to slip right into that kick. Okay, so slipping is very boxing oriented. Whereas when kicks and knees, especially knees, when knees are allowed, you can end up ducking into a knee. Okay, what else we got here? Hey, coach, what do you think about hardening your fist like Muay Thai fighters harden their legs? That's from Ozzy. Well, you know what I do? I don't wear hand wraps. I got really good, strong hands. I don't wear hand wraps unless my hand is hurting. I think boxers, they baby their hands too much. I wear hand wraps when I'm going to do a pro sparring, like a hard sparring. Okay, and then I'll do a lot of touch sparring and bag work, no hand wraps. And I have very, very healthy hands, like super healthy hands. And I find that my hands are harder. Like literally, if you look at karate guys who hit wood and brick and all that, they got these massive calcifications on their knuckles. It makes their knuckle bone density greater. Like you don't want to get hit by one of those. Like if they had the punching of a boxer and those knuckles, my goodness. That's why I'm a big believer in working your hands while you're hitting the bag. Like don't just go hit the bag, put a sponge and a wrap and spend 30 minutes wrapping your hand in this giant bubble wrap type thing and then go hit the bag. I don't believe in that. You're going to punch a guy on the street one day, you're going to try to defend yourself and your hand's going to shatter. Very bad habit. I think the boxers got it wrong in this regard. Why is the Superman punch effective? And why is it mostly used in MMA? That's from AA. Well, I cover it in my video. I do the right side, the power side Superman and the lead side Superman. So if you want to know how to do it, check out my instructional. Why is it so effective in MMA? Well, I'll tell you why. One, you need some space to do it. It's a karate maneuver, okay? It's generally a karate maneuver. We do it in Muay Thai, but in Muay Thai you won't see it as often. Why? Because if you do that, you need a lot of circular movement, and then I'm going to use it to cross the distance. The Superman punch is great for crossing a lot of distance. Whereas in Muay Thai, it's not necessary. I'm so close to you. The ring is much smaller than the octagon. The Muay Thai ring is a lot smaller. I like to use the Superman punch as a surprise. I don't do it very often. So I'm boxing, we're getting in the rhythm, we're doing Muay Thai, we're getting in this rhythm, and now I'm going to throw this weird maneuver at you and see how you deal with it. It's a very safe maneuver if done correctly and timed properly. It's very hard to counter, and it upsets a lot of people who've never seen it before. You could see that they're overwhelmed. They're like, hey, what was that? What did he hit me with? Because I might hit you with a punch, I might hit you with the kick. And if I see you bite on the punch, I'm going to kick you. And if I see you bite on the kick, I'm going to punch you. And now I got you confused. If I got you confused, you're in a lot of trouble. So it's a great weapon to have in your arsenal. But if you're basing your game on Superman punch, people are going to figure you out. And after a while, it just doesn't work anymore. So the Superman punch is just one trick I use. I have a vast variety I have a large amount of tricks I use. So I'm going to find which trick is going to confuse you the most. And that's the one I'm going to get you with. Jazakallah for the reply, brother. And what are the best martial arts to get into for starting MMA? That's from Zishan. Zishan, I would say start with wrestling and jiu-jitsu together. Wrestling and jiu-jitsu, in my opinion, is the two best places to start. Does the peekaboo style work in MMA if a wrestler want to close the distance? That's from Boy If You Don't Know. Peekaboo style, I like it, okay? But I think you need a modified peekaboo style. Muay Thai guys do use the peekaboo style. It's not exactly like they do it in boxing, but we do have that style. I am a firm believer in that. I use it myself, but not like a winky right peekaboo style. Like I think peekaboo is more, it's a term used in boxing. We don't crouch down like that. You know, we just got to keep a high guard, and it would be considered type of our version of the peekaboo. Okay. All right, guys. I think we're pretty good on the striking. I think we had a good 35 minutes on that. I am going to open it up to other topics. Let me just see here. I had a lot of things I had to cover in this podcast. Okay, guys, I did last video promise I would do a reaction video. I promised I would do a reaction video for Sam Harris's talk with Jordan Peterson. Okay, I said if I get 1,000 likes, I would do a reaction video. And I did get 1,000 likes right away, which I didn't even know. I look back at my past videos and I was getting 1,000 likes already. I don't know why I said 1,000 likes. I should have said 5,000 likes or 10,000 likes. I had no idea. I didn't know that my videos were getting that many likes. I look back and like one video was like 1,000 likes. The other one was 2,000 likes. I'm like, dude, why did I put the bar at 1,000 likes? I totally screwed up on that, but I will keep my word. I will keep my word. Now I was thinking about doing it today, but I had to promote a new video and that stuff, so I didn't get a chance to. But I will do it, let's say, in the next month. Okay, I might not do it the next episode. I got to go back and listen to it. I haven't heard it in years. And it will be the first philosophy-centered episode. Okay, we'll see how it goes. We'll take it from there. I'm going to do one philosophy video episode centered on philosophy because you guys asked for it. So don't complain. Okay, you guys asked for it. And I promised that if I got 1,000 likes, I would do it. And I did. So you guys gave up 1,000 likes. And I appreciate that. Thank you. Hey, Coach, greetings from Brazil. Big fan. How an MMA fighter can use techniques from Olympic and pro boxing in his game, like gazelle punch, flicker jab, corkscrew, etc. That's from Guilherme. Guilherme, that's a very good question. I think that those kind of maneuvers only really work if you have a strong foundation in the basics. If you have a good Muay Thai basics and good boxing basics, then look to do the gazelle punch, the flicker jab, corkscrew. But don't base your game on that. Don't, because you might win a few fights at an early level and then all of a sudden people figured you out. Hey, if you get past this guy's gazelle punch, you just don't have much else, okay? Because to catch me with those kind of punches, you got to set them up. To set them up, you need a good foundation in the basics, okay? That's why in my striking video, you can see it now on the screen, it says core striking combinations. Core striking and tricky maneuver and other tricky shots. But it starts with core basics, okay? It's really, really important you have a strong core. Now, flip the coin. If you only have the basics, then nothing about you surprises me. So if I do the basics just as good as you, it's going to be a close fight. But if I do the basics just as good as you and I could throw you a curveball here and there, I'm going to win. What are your top 3 books you think everybody should read? Wow, that's a massive question. That's from Alex Barron. Alex Barron, wow, what a question. Well, there are so many great books out there. It's so hard for me to pick a book. But I'm going to pick one book today. Because 3 would take me an hour. If we talk about 3 books, Alex, it's going to take a while. One of the best books I think everybody should read is called The 7 Habits. Okay, The 7 Habits, in my opinion, is a must read. To be an organized human being, a successful human being, in terms of business and anything, career, etc., which is, I assume this is what you're asking me. Even if it's sports or whatever you want to be successful in. The 7 Habits is a gem. Okay, habit number 1. Let's do a quick review of the 7 Habits. This whole podcast is going to be worth it. Just for this one question. And I read the 7 Habits when I was very young. Okay, I read it when I was 19. Excuse my voice, guys. I strained my voice the other day. Please forgive me. I almost didn't do this podcast because I was worried my voice would be too annoying. Habit number 1 is be proactive. What does it mean to be proactive? Well, Stephen R. Covey says, look, you got to do with what you got. You got to go out there and make it happen. I'm paraphrasing in words. I'm paraphrasing here in my own language. Don't tell me you couldn't make it in jiu-jitsu because there was no black belt in your city or your town to teach you. By the way, that was my dilemma. When I was training jiu-jitsu, I had nobody to train me in jiu-jitsu. I was buying instructional videotapes. I was doing every seminar. Guys, I was doing every seminar. Anything in my vicinity, I would drive down, I would sit there, I would do 3 hours, I would take notes, I'd come back to the gym, I would drill with people, I made my own mat, I would drill with my neighbors. I was so obsessed with jiu-jitsu. I never thought I was going to become a jiu-jitsu black belt. I never thought I would become a jiu-jitsu trainer, making videos, doing seminars all over the world. This had not even crossed my mind. I was just so fascinated about jiu-jitsu. But I was obsessed with wanting to learn how to defend myself. Be proactive. Do with what you got. There's no limit to your success. Never have an external locus of control. So for instance, if somebody says, hey, I want to get a PhD, but I can't do it because my parents are uneducated, didn't read to me when I was a kid. Or, you know what, I don't have enough money to get a PhD. It's too expensive. Like any excuse, you got to shut that down. You got to find the way. Okay, but when you're proactive, you say, look, I can't afford university. Well, I'm going to self-educate. I'm going to start with audiobooks. I'm going to start with seminar. I'm going to start with online training, whatever it may be. You're going to take the alternative route. Whatever your goal may be, you're going to find a way. You're going to go through every obstacle and there's no excuse. Habit 1 is the most powerful habit. Okay, it's a personal habit. The first 3 habits are internal habits. Okay, R. Covey talks about the first 3 habits is like a mind shift. It's something that's happening in your head. Habit number 1, it could be summed up as no excuses. You accept no excuses. This was a very powerful chapter in my life. Okay, like when I read that chapter, I was like, wow, this guy's like, he's in my head, man. He's making me think, hey, you know what? I should never make excuses. There's always a way. Habit 2, begin with the end in mind. What is your goal? What is your goal? Do you want to be, an engineer? Do you want to be a professional athlete? Do you want to be, whatever it is you want to be? Stephen R. Covey is asking you straight up, point blank, what is your goal? That's habit 2. It's a tough question. Okay, and he goes through different exercises on how to find that, etc. Habit 3. Now don't forget, these are the internal habits. Habit 3, first things first. Now this is a colossal habit. He even had a book called First Things First, where he just talks about that one habit. Look at your life. Do you prioritize the things that will help you achieve your goal in your daily routine? Look at your daily routine. Let's say you want to be an engineer and then you look at your daily routine. Does that look like a daily routine of a guy who wants to be an engineer? Like, does he wake up every morning and study engineering for an hour, 2 hours before he goes to class? So he's the number 1 engineer in his class? Is he the type of guy who is constantly consuming himself, consuming engineering literature, revising engineering literature? Does he know everything there is to know about engineering? Is he designing his life, his day-to-day routine? Is he prioritizing learning whatever it is that's in his field? If the answer is no, he doesn't really want to be an engineer. Okay, so habit 3, I'm summarizing. There's so much more to it. It's about putting first things first. We always do the most important things first. This is a massive habit. This is like, these 3 habits alone should have been the book. Like, they were worth the book. 1, no excuses. Again, I'm paraphrasing. I'm giving you a crude, in a nutshell review here. 2, begin with the end in mind. What's the goal? Before we start working hard, let's make sure we're pointing in the right direction. Habit 3, your entire day is oriented towards reaching that goal. Now 4, habit 4. Now this is the external habits. This is how you're gonna go out there in the world and you're gonna be able to cooperate with others. Habit 4 is win-win. Think win-win. I think it should have been habit 5, but it doesn't matter. I'm not gonna go on a tangent here, okay? Habit 4 is win-win. Think win-win. This is, guys, every habit is colossal. This is a brilliant book. Okay? I'm telling you guys, this is a phenomenal. I've read hundreds of books. This one is phenomenal. Habit 5. Habit 4. Think win-win. What does it mean to think win-win? Whenever you have a transaction with any human being, make sure that they had a positive experience and you had a positive experience. I'll give you a for instance, okay? I get sponsors asking me, I get many offers to show you guys a product on my channel. And I often, most of the time, I refuse. You know why I refuse? Because if I don't believe in the product, I'm being totally honest here. If I don't use the product, if I don't absolutely love the product, I'll never show it to my subscribers. Like, for instance, the first time I got a Tim Tam, I would have paid anything to have it. Like, I wanted that product so badly. I was like, this product's amazing. And because I know it has to be a win-win. My customer has to be happy and I have to be happy. If, for instance, you have a transaction, imagine you have a transaction where you win and your interlocutor or the other person loses. Over time, it's going to result to a negative in your experience. People, I used to have a partner that was like that. Like, he was like the worst businessman. Why? Because he was all about doing what it takes to get a little ahead. He was like a hustler. In the end, nobody wanted to do business with this guy because doing business with this guy was too toxic. It was always, he was always trying to flip things in his favor all the time. That people would just get exhausted and annoyed dealing with him. And slowly, the guy went totally out of business. Like nobody would ever work with him. Thinking win-win is long-term success. If I have a positive transaction with this partner, like imagine a member comes in the gym. I have to enjoy training him and he has to enjoy training with me. That's the only way we can operate. If I hate training my members, if I despise it, well, I'm going to be a miserable human being. If my students despise training in here, well, they're eventually going to leave. It has to be win-win. But too much of society today, it's all about, we get to the negotiation table and it's like, hey, this is what I want and I'm going to force you to give it to me. That's the wrong kind of attitude. That is the wrong kind of attitude because in the long run, people don't want to interact with you no more. So it's a long-term fail. Now, habit 6. Habit 6 is a tricky one, a tough one. He talks about listening first and then speaking. Listen, understand, reiterate what the person is saying to show them that you understood them, and then talk. So always seek to listen first. So he's encouraging you to become a very good communicator. And I find this one, at first when I read this book, I had underestimated it. I had really underestimated this habit. I was like, oh, look, it's interesting, it's nice, but how powerful of a habit is it? As I get older, I found it to be one of the most powerful things a human being can do. People, when they feel that they're heard, listen to what I'm about to tell you, okay? When people feel that they've been heard and understood, you get a good side from them. They'll show you their better side. So if you're, in the discussion with someone and it's kind of turning into an argument and you're both kind of yelling at each other, you're going to get the most vile type of version of that person. Now, everybody's got a dark side. Everybody's got a good side and a dark side. And when people feel that they're not heard, you get that dark side of them. You get that anger. You get that annoyed, negative energy. You get that anger. You boil. People will get annoyed. And now it becomes confrontational. It becomes hostile. And nobody's hearing anybody. However, if you take advice from Stephen R. Covey, and you sit there and you listen and you reiterate, and you take the time to see their point of view, and you empathize with them. You try to put yourself in their shoes. All of a sudden, that person, I find in my experience, and I think R. Covey's spot on, they're going to, because they feel that they're, even though you don't agree with them, even though you still don't agree, that's fine. You're going to start getting the better side of them. Why is that? I can get into we can get into discussion now, but I think it's too long, too much of a tangent. I think in the long term, it is because they feel that you're not just being biased. You actually took the time to see things from their point of view. Now, when you see things from their point of view, they don't have to ram their beliefs down your throat. They don't have to ram their point of view. It's already there. It's there. Look, I've accepted your belief. I've not accepted it. I've looked at it from your way. I've understood it. Now have a look from my way. And all of a sudden you have the better side of both people. And that's when fruitful discussion really happens. In my opinion, that's because too many times you hear two people talking and they're just talking past one another. One person has their point, they're not listening when you talk, and vice versa, and it's just nobody heard anything. Now, the next habit after that is synergize. Synergize is getting everybody to row in the same direction. Now, it's more complicated than that. Okay, let me give it to you in a nutshell. You can be dependent on your partner, which is bad, because now you're working from a position of desperation. You can be independent from your partner, no need of my partner. But that's not optimal. It's better than being dependent, but it's not optimal. Why? Because when you're independent, you both can go your separate ways. Now you're working alone. Now we're not unified. The desired effect, the desired goal would be to be interdependent. We could be independent from one another if we needed to be. However, together we create this machine. We create this machine that's interdependent. We couldn't create this machine without each other. And this machine is mutually beneficial. This corporation, this team, whatever you want to call it, it's mutually beneficial. Now, when you have synergy in a group, that group can take over the world in whatever domain they may be. Like if you got a law firm and they're working together, they have a synergy. Oh, that law firm can go far. They can get really creative. They can be very successful. When you got an MMA team that work together, they're interdependent. That team can go really, really far. However, let's say you have a team, they're conspiring against one another, they're always trying to sabotage one another, their competitors have a chance not to overtake them, because when they're infighting, your competitors now can use that friction that you have within the group to exploit that for themselves. Okay, so that's synergy. Synergy is a massive element to success. However, everything before synergy, all those other habits are required to have synergy. It's like he positioned synergy in the correct place, in my opinion. Okay. With that said, habit number 7 is sharpen the saw. Okay, so habit 7 is like, hey, stay your sharpest. Now he calls it sharpen the saw because he gives like a little fable that, look, if you're going to cut down one of these massive trees, he talks about this massive tree, it could take like 6 hours to cut down. However, if your saw is really, really sharp, it could take 3 hours. So spend the first hour sharpening your saw. Okay, so sharpening the saw is about not overworking yourself. Not burning the candle at both ends. Now, this is my weakest habit. This is the habit, like if you score yourself on every habit, add all the habits together, divided by 7, that's your average score. I bet you that number reflects how successful you are. So let's say you're proactive, you're a 9 on 10 proactive. Wow, you're a super proactive person. You never depend on your circumstance for success. You're gonna make your own success. You're gonna scratch and claw your way. You're gonna meet every obstacle. You're motivated. You're gonna take no excuses. You're gonna keep trying your best. You're either gonna make it or you're gonna die. You're gonna die trying. Let's say you're a 9 on 10. Wow, you're like super motivated person. 2, you know exactly what you want to do. Oh, I want to be a professional fighter. That's it. That's my goal. 3, you're a 9 on 10. You're so dedicated to being a professional fighter. 3, you're a 9 on 10 in putting first things first. Every day you wake up and you do your training routine. In the afternoon, you take a nap. Why? Because napping is going to re-energize you for the evening session. And then you go to the train. Your whole life revolves around training. You're a 9 on 10. Amazing. Now, the 4th habit we said was seek win-win. When you're in the training room, you make sure you don't injure your partners. You make sure that your partners are learning as much as you and they're happy to work with you and they don't feel like you're there to just beat them up. And you have this great win-win relationship with all your coaches. Your coaches feel that if you're successful, you're going to give them credit. And when you make money, they'll make money. Like, you have this incredible win-win atmosphere in your gym. All your coaches, you're a 9 on 10. Amazing. Now we got the next thing. You're a great communicator. You seek to listen first. You're empathetic. Okay, you're not rude with your coaches. You're not rude with your family, and you got this great communication. Then we said we're gonna have an incredible synergy. When I'm not fighting, I'm there for my training partners, so they'll be there for when I'm fighting. We have this great team atmosphere. And then you get to habit 7, where you burn the candle at both ends. You're a 5 on 10. That's going to dramatically kill your average. It's going to dramatically kill your average. I'll tell you something. For workaholics, people who are super motivated, habit 7 is the hardest. For you workaholics out there, you understand exactly what I'm trying to say. Like, hey, daylight is burning, man. I got to get on my projects. I got to do I have 1,001 things to do. I got to do them. I'm motivated. I have this burning fire inside me. I got to do. Stephen R. Covey says, don't. You're going to ruin your score, your average score. Why? You're going to lose your creativity. You're going to make blunders. Blunders are mistakes. They're not just mistakes. They're mistakes you shouldn't have made. You're too competent to make these mistakes. Why did you make this mistake? If it's a blunder, it was an oversight. Why did you have an oversight? You're trained not to make this mistake. You're certified in not making this mistake. Well, I had a rough night last night, or it's been 5 weeks. I'm training really hard. My body's just burned out, and I'm still trying to bite the bullet and go through my routine. I'm refusing to sharpen the saw. What happens then? All the other habits suffer. Sharpening the saw, in my opinion, when I read it, I was like, yeah, I'll do that another time. But I've come to realize that he's very correct on this. Stephen R. Covey is very, very correct. The 7th habit, which is the habit I hate the most, because it's so psychologically difficult. I feel like I'm doing nothing. I feel like I'm being unproductive. But it's supremely important, especially now that I've become a father, married, husband and all that. It's different. I have to be there with the kids because they're going to grow up and write books about how much they hate their dad. You guys will understand when you have kids. You have to make family time. You have to do it. What about all these goals I have? What about all this work I got to do? Put it on hold. Put it on hold. Take some time off. Let the battery re-energize. Have faith in the process. Your creativity will flow again. You'll have a light bulb moment. Oh, I just connected some dots. I have a new way of thinking about doing things. Rejuvenation, re-energizing, recharging the battery is massive. But in my opinion, it's the most psychologically difficult habit to accomplish. I love my wife, but one time she was like, you know what? I think I'm just going to take the month off. She was working and she's like, oh, you know what? I have a chance to take a month off. I'm going to take the whole month off. Me taking a month off will give me a heart attack. Could you imagine? That's so alien to me. Taking one day off is difficult. I take 1 week off a year for the family, again, because I have a family and all that. Taking 1 month off would give me anxiety. It would give me I would have a pit in my stomach. It would give me an ulcer. All these projects, they're not being done. All these things, all fights coming up. This is not all. That's why COVID has been so psychologically hard on me. Because the gym is on hold, another shutdown, it's psychologically torture. It's psychological torture. The productivity is stopped. It's psychological torture. Me knowing that these things are not getting done. People who should be getting their belts, they're not getting their promotions. Their training is on hold. Their fights, everything is on hold. Life is on hold. And it's just, for me, I'm the type of person that it's so aggravating. It's torment. Okay, guys, that's my rundown on the 7 habits. Why did I do a rundown on 7 habits? I'll tell you why, because I think it's such an important book. And I know there's a lot of young people out there listening to this, a lot of young men. Do yourself a favor. Buy the book or buy the audiobook and listen to it. What I did was, I didn't do justice to the book. It was an in a nutshell type review. Please make sure to read the entire book. There are many gems in that book. I believe I have another super chat here. Is that a $100? No, SEC 100. I don't know what SEC means, but thank you anyway. This is from Gengishan. Salam alaikum, coach. I'm 23, been doing BJJ for almost 1 year. Recently started boxing MMA in a great club. Do you think I can make it to UFC? Having no prior experience with sports causes self-doubt. Well, look, be honest with yourself, Gengishan. Go in there. Do some MMA sparring. See, do you have any natural talents? Are you, for a guy training 1 year, are you doing good? Ask your coach, hey, if I've been training 1 year, am I average? Am I below average? Am I ahead of the pack? Like, give me an honest assessment. And maybe give it another year or two and reassess again and see, hey, am I athletic? Am I very tough? Do you have anything going for you other than you like BJJ? Are you a hard hitter? Are you super tough? Do you have great endurance? Like, do you have anything that shines when we bring your skills to the table? And if the answer is yes, then the potential is greater, much greater. Okay, guys, we've been in for 1 hour. Guys, don't forget, pick up one of these bad boys. It has a special feature. I didn't mention it, okay? But check this out right here. I just turned it on. After you turn it on, watch this, okay? You double tap it. And now look at this. The harder you press, the harder it massages you. Watch this. So now it's on light. You find that sore spot. You press. And then look, it massages you even harder. So it goes with the pressure. The harder you push. I love this thing, man. I'm telling you, this thing's incredible. And it's so quiet. Let me put it on max. 1, level 2, level 3, level 4. It's so quiet. Like, I use this thing while I'm having a conversation with somebody. I'm working on my tight muscles and all that, getting ready for practice, chilling and hanging out, and doesn't bother anybody. And this thing's amazing. I could do my whole podcast while massaging myself. This is fantastic, actually. Let me do the next question while this thing's running. We got a bunch of super chats here. Hold on a second. Hi, coach. Have you any routine or advice on gaining some muscle mass using only calisthenics? I can do 20 pull-ups and a bunch of push-ups. I want to increase my weight. Thanks. Al, listen, that's a very popular question. How do I gain muscle? Listen, calisthenics is good. You can get there, but I highly recommend you use weights, deadlifts and squats. If you're not going to use deadlifts and squats, it's going to be very difficult. You're on a long road, okay? Don't go down the long road. Buy our barbell, start squatting, and get there a lot faster, okay? So don't try to do it with just body weight calisthenics. If you could not afford a barbell, make a heavy sandbag and do front squat. But add a weighted squat. I don't care if you have to use a sandbag, and there's no way you cannot afford a sandbag. Put it out in the backyard and squat that thing. Make sure you do heavy squats if you want to increase in size. Calisthenics is just not enough. Tony Ferguson versus Charles Oliveira. Thoughts and predictions, coach? That's an interesting fight. I might have to do a whole episode on that, but for now, I'm giving you my preliminary response. I'm going to go with Tony Ferguson. Joel Wilson, do you think boxing and jiu-jitsu would be ideal for the street fight? I feel like kickboxing could be risky, especially against multiple attackers, which happens a lot in the streets. ? Joel, no, I would say that Muay Thai and jiu-jitsu would be ideal, and boxing is not better for multiple attackers. I would say kickboxing / Muay Thai is better for multiple attackers. In my opinion, it would be better than straight boxing. But again, boxing is great because you can get things done real quick. Pop, pop, pop. I could see that too. So, but I would give a very slight favorability to Muay Thai for multiple. Actually, no, I would give it let's say a 10% more. Okay, let's call it that. 10% more, because I could elbow. Sometimes the guy grabs me, he grabs onto me, I elbow him. If the guy grabs me from behind, how am I going to hit him with boxing? It's kind of hard. Another super chat. Big MF. I want to get into a hedge fund, which is better if you can only have one. Extra circular stuff, 2 jobs, Muay Thai, or a higher GPA of 3.5. I'm not sure exactly what you mean, Mr. BMF. I'm not totally clear on your question. I think you're kind of slightly joking here, but I would go with Bitcoin, my friend. I don't know. I'm a big Bitcoin believer. I'm not huge into hedge funds. If you're asking me what's better, higher GPA, are you talking about pursuing your schoolwork? Not too sure on your answer, but since you brought up hedge funds, I'll talk to you about something. I'm loving what's going on with Bitcoin right now. And I'm a big supporter of that. Bitcoin, I'm a huge supporter. Hedge funds, honestly, I don't even know what that is. Hi, Coach. I love your podcast and your philosophical discussion. I have a deep question for you. How does one get closer to God? And what role, if any, do you feel organized religion plays in this? That's from Hearsay Strength. Wow, that is a deep question. Well, here's this. Look, I'm Muslim. Okay, so obviously I study Islam. But I also believe we're born with a natural religion, and that's why I prefer Islam over all other religions, because I believe Islam is about finding your natural religion. Yes, it's an organized religion, but it's a religion that says that all religions have some truth and they got distorted. It started true and then got distorted. Islam is trying to bring you back to a religion that you were born in, which we call the fitrah. You're born with this idea of God. It's an innate idea. Now, in philosophy, we call this the ontological argument, which I'm a huge proponent of. And then maybe one day we'll have a whole podcast on it. I have a feeling that one day we're going to have that. Maybe I have a few guests on or something. But I'm a big believer in the ontological argument. I think that it's argued in ways that create a lot of misunderstandings. I have my own way to argue it. Okay, but here's the punch. Okay, I'll give it to you in a nutshell, because I find that philosophy can be very boring if you don't give good thought experiments. Instead of me sitting here and lecturing you, I give you a thought experiment, and you can take a very profound idea and have it in a few minutes instead of thinking about it for figuring it out over 10 years. Now, I know there's a huge new atheist movement. I would say huge. Not huge, but big. Let's call it big. I think this movement's not going to last. It's never going to last. Okay, atheist movements have always been. They have always been since day one. Since the Greeks, since we have recorded history, the Greeks had atheists. Okay, and here's why. Let me give you the thought experiment first. It's a very simple one. Imagine I am building a Coach 2.0. So you have me, Coach in the flesh, and then you have Coach 2.0. Instead of a body, instead of bones, I'm going to put steel metal for bones. I'm going to fashion his bones out of steel. Instead of blood, I'm going to put oil. Instead of skin, I'm going to put sheet metal. Instead of an eye, I'm going to put a camera. Instead of a brain, I'm going to put a computer. I'm going to give him all the equivalents. Instead of a heart, I'm going to give him a pump. Instead of lungs, he's going to have this, synthetic type of bag that inflates and deflates, etc. So air is going in, air is going out. Valves are opening and closing. Oil is flowing through, etc. Electrical currents are being processed. He's identical to me. He has a program that's designed to copy my every action, replicate my every action. He is materially exactly like me. He functions exactly. Coach 2.0 functions exactly like me. He laughs at the same jokes. He likes the same foods. He sleeps at the same hour. He has the same good and bad habits. He has the same everything. He's identical in every way. Okay, so according to materialism, the new atheists, me and him should be, in principle, the same. Because according to materialism, everything can be explained to a material cause. Yes, he's synthetic, but he has the same functions as I do. And I would add, he's as complex as me. So he has a supercomputer. Okay, don't tell me that no computer is as advanced as a brain. This is a thought experiment. I'm talking about this is a computer of the future. This is like, his computer is the switchboards are going off and on, and it's a complex motherboard, and it's super complex. Think Data and Star Trek, excuse me. Data. You guys know Data? Now, what is the difference between me and him? Is there a difference? Some philosophers will say no. Some philosophers will say no. The vast majority of philosophers would say, yes, there has to be a difference. He is not conscious. There is no ghost in the machine, if you permit me to use that term. I use that term because the majority of our audience is Western. Okay. Is there a difference between him and him? Well, listen, imagine I cut him in half. Imagine I cut Coach 2.0 in half. Would you say I murdered him, or would you say I damaged property? I pretty much would venture that most people will say I damaged property. Now, if you cut Coach in half, then that would be murder. It would be killing. There's a difference between me and him. Now we have to ask ourselves, what is that difference? Now, many great thinkers and philosophers and mystics and sages asked, what's the difference? And that difference, well, obviously we're gonna in modern time we'll use the term consciousness. I'm conscious and he's not. What is this consciousness thing? What is this ghost in the machine? What is this observer? What is this observer that we have in our bodies? It's not material. Leibniz said it most beautifully. He said, look, if I was really, really tiny, gives you another thought experiment, and I could walk around in your brain. I was walking around. I could see blood flow, gray matter. I could see you in a particular brain state. I could see neurons firing. I could see all sorts of chemicals interacting with one another. However, I can never, no matter how logical or scientific I am, I can never deduce that consciousness exists. I can never see consciousness. I would miss it completely. The only reason you believe in consciousness is because you're experiencing it yourself. So where is this consciousness emanating from? How come there's a observer? How come there's a ghost in the machine, so to speak? Because of this experience, in my opinion, religion is never going anywhere. People are always going to have these spiritual, religious experiences. It's never going anywhere at all. We're always going to have these unexplained behaviors. Human beings boil down to, and if you're interested in this, listen very carefully. We are points of observation. Now, I'm being very friendly in my description here because I wouldn't describe it that way. If you gave me, if I told it to you in its most purest form, I'm doing that now so you can understand me. Human beings are points of observation. We are observing the world out there. We're having this internal experience. And this internal experience is known via intuition only. It's not known via logic or science. It is actually, if you take me into the arena of philosophy and we scrutinize, it's the only thing we're certain of that's objective. Everything else falls by the wayside and becomes subjective. A topic for another day. This one objective thing is a religious experience. Intuition is a religious experience. We cannot get away from it. At the end of the day, we just cannot get away from it. If we could get away from it, we would all be atheists. I would love to sit down with an atheist. Oh, like the most atheistic, cerebral atheist, intelligent atheist, and sit down and have not a combative conversation, but a friendly conversation about how they can escape this point of observation, this ghost in the machine, this observer. It's inescapable and unexplainable via materialism. Now, I know there are a lot of counter arguments. They're all weak. Believe me, I've searched every single one of them. I needed a good reason to be atheist. I couldn't find one. They all fall by the wayside. Believe me when I tell you, I've researched them. I can't say I know everything. I'm not saying I know everything. I'm still researching, obviously. Still, I can never know everything. But I have researched it exhaustively for 20 years. There is no way to explain the entire world via materialism. There is just no way. There's always some there's always some ghost or consciousness or mystical experience or something that's woo, if you want to call it. There's always a something. Think about a meat puppet and a ghost inside. Like there's always something that is experimental and not knowable via logic or science. And I've tried every which way to get around it. There's just no way. I've listened to I've read the works of the greatest thinkers in history. I've studied philosophy for 20 years. We could just never get away from it. It always starts back to this experience. And I think education and study and research and learning and being open-minded, and it's a lifelong journey. Okay, I got a question on solipsism, I believe. Hold on, let's see this. Coach, can you elaborate on calling Jordan Peterson a solipsist? I know that Greek philosophers consider solipsism manipulation and deceit. I think you mean sophist, not solipsist. Okay, a solipsism is the belief that I only exist. The whole, solipsism is the view that everything is from my mind. I'm the only one that exists. This whole world, you guys are all fictions of my imagination. I'm just a solipsist. The whole entire universe is my mind. It's all happening in my mind. You don't exist. You're just a figment of my imagination. I created this entire world in my mind. That's solipsism. What Jordan Peterson has been called is a sophist. A sophist is somebody that doesn't believe in truth is necessary. Anything could be true. I can spin it any way. Okay? Man is the measure of all things. It's all a point of view. It's all subjective. Now, I say that because Jordan Peterson says that truth is pragmatic, meaning I believe what's true if it benefits me. He talked about how truth goes through this Darwinian, and again, I have to replay the podcast. I'm gonna play it live and then kind of react to it. I'm not going to do that now because now I'm going by memory and I haven't heard it in years. And I wasn't trying to memorize it when I listened to it. But he was saying basically, look, I have competing truths in my head, and the one that survives, the one that's more beneficial for me, that's the one I accept. And so he was trying to say that truth is also very Darwinian. Why would I believe something that's bad for me? Like, for instance, Donald Trump says he won the election. He said that the election was fraudulent. Now, if he had won the election, do you think he would have said, hey, I won, but it was fraudulent, guys. Look at this. Look at these machines. They're counting 1.25 votes for me and 0.75 votes for Biden. It's cheated. They cheated Biden. It's rigged. Do you think he would have said that? Imagine he had won, and this, by the way, is how you recognize a sophist. Okay, let me elaborate on this, please, Jordan. It's going to take a few minutes for me to elaborate. A sophist has a position, and he maintains that position regardless what the information is, the evidence is. So let's say, for instance, you say Trump won. Trump won it. And here's the evidence. If I were to take that evidence and I were to flip it, I was about to give you the complete opposite evidence. If I flipped it around, you would still believe Trump won. You're a sophist. Okay? Now I'm giving you a for instance here. A sophist doesn't really care about the evidence. He spins the evidence to his benefit. That's it. What's true is what works for me, what fills my belly, what puts a roof over my head, what increases my bank account. That's what's true. And to hell with everything else. Trump, maybe he's going to bring evidence that's going to shock the world. I don't want to say that I know he's wrong. That's not what I'm saying now. Please don't misunderstand me. I have not reviewed the evidence. However, I've read what they've said about it online. I've listened to what the judges have said when they saw the preliminary evidence. It's being thrown out. I know there are other court cases. I know there's still evidence to be shown. I'm not saying he's a complete liar. I'm just going to tell you one thing. When he was going up against Hillary, he said it was rigged. Then when he won, he didn't say it was rigged no more. Why? Why wouldn't he protect American democracy? Why did he just kind of celebrate? He should have went after the guys who rigged it. Well, he wins. Why would he go after them? Now he's saying it's rigged. I can't wait to see it. I'm going to reserve my judgment until the evidence is presented, because that would be unfair if I were to judge him now. However, if his evidence goes to court and is weak, which is, I gotta be honest with you, that's what I'm expecting. Because, I've observed him for the last 4 years like everybody else, and I can tell you, so much of what he says is sophistry. He's just always trying to pump himself. Is the world always at his feet? Is he so perfect of a human being? Like he's never self-critical. He's never the least bit corrective of himself. He's never made a mistake. It's always brilliance. Like when he circled with a Sharpie. I don't want to get back into a Sharpie gate here, but he just couldn't say, look, the hurricane is not going that far. I misspoke. You can't just say the slightest thing. It has to become this massive media war that he is correct. There is no fact you can show him. There is no evidence. This is my preliminary opinion. I'm still waiting to be proven wrong here because I don't want to be a sophist myself. If Trump won the election and he proves it in court and the election is reversed, even if it's not reversed, if he proves fraud that was, okay, obviously fraud has to be deliberate. It was deliberate, so it truly is fraud. But fraud more than usual, okay, because there's always some fraud in every election. But if he shows a plot, a massive plot, whether it's the CIA, the Biden administration, whatever, if he shows something incredible, something above the normal amount of fraud that goes on in every election, that changes very little. Because why I have such little doubt that he will is because I've listened to his speakers, people who represent him. The one lady who was an eyewitness, my God, man, she made no sense whatsoever on the news. She was so, man, her arguments were so bad. They were so bad. I don't even want to reply. I don't even want to repeat them here online. Her arguments were so bad, I had no faith that they were being honest. But again, if he can go to court and show something that is going to impress a judge, change a judge's mind, I will be like, look, the guy was cheated. He deserves to be the president of the United States. I will admit it. If you flip the evidence, I will flip my opinion. But right now, from what I've watched, what I've learned, what I've checked on, it looks to me like what I have observed from Trump is he says whatever makes him look good. He said he would build a wall. He never built a wall. He said it would be easy. Guys, he said it would be easy. He said Mexico would pay for it. He said Americans will be tired of winning. If he becomes president, you're going to be tired of winning. He said also that he was going to replace Obamacare with something better and easier and cheaper, and everybody's going to get covered. Come on. He said, I heard it with my own ears. He said he would replace it easily. What else did he promise? He promised so many things, like many politicians do. Of course they have to promise. They're trying to get votes. However, he went far and beyond trying to sell things that I think were nonsensical. From the start, they were nonsensical. But that's my opinion. I'm not an expert in politics. Please don't take it personally. I'm not right wing. I'm not left wing. I'm not pro Republican. I'm not anti. I'm not pro. I'm neutral. Okay, I'm very neutral in my opinions. But when it comes to Trump, whether he was a Democrat or a Republican, this is not an attack on the Republican Party at all. Okay, I'm very traditional in my ways. My observation is that Trump, in my opinion, suffers from narcissism. And he's so about himself that he doesn't see the things that he says many times are absurd. He doesn't see it. He can't see it. Okay, guys. Sets and reps to build muscle for MMA. My Godwin, you're a saint. You're an angel. You're a sweet guy. Bad question. Bad time. You spent $5 on that question? My brother, come on. Okay, guys. All right, we got a couple more super chats. I was about to sign off, but let's do them. Here, let's do them. Okay, now we got another super chat. Endless Nameless. AM, PM skills practice. Which one higher rep? Which one to do strength and conditioning after, as you always advocate? Okay, I think what you're trying to say, Endless, is you should do strength and conditioning after practice, skills practice, yes. And I think you're asking me what's better, AM practice or PM practice. If you had the choice, I would choose AM practice because your body's fresh. You're the highest energy you're going to be all day. You just woke up, so your body's going to be more responsive. But if you wait all day, you're going to be worn out from your day. Your body's less responsive and the training takes less effect. So I hope that answers your question. Another super chat. Guillaume Ribeiro. How to have that really deep conversation with yourself and go chase your real dreams. How to do that? Leap of faith. How to take that leap of faith. That's from Gil Haram. Well, you know what, Gil Haram, I think you gotta envision your life. What's your life gonna be in 5 years from now with the way you're living your life? Here's my opinion. Like, I think about what I'm doing today. How does that affect my life in the future? And then you visualize your future and you're like, hey, that's not the path I want to be on. That future scares me. Why? Because I'm being lazy. I'm not being productive. That's what gets me up in the morning. If I don't hustle every day, I'm scared what my future is going to look like. I have a paranoia about my future. So I just think about the future. I'm like, hey, do you think that you're going to have everything you want? You're going to be able to provide for your family and you're going to be successful if you stay on this path? That scares the hell out of me because I'm a long-term thinker. I think people who are kind of lazy, nonchalant, procrastinators, they don't see, they don't imagine their future enough. Like I reflect on my future quite a bit. Any technical advice on getting better as a white belt in BJJ? In more focused on drilling situational roles now, but still feel like I'm missing something. That's from Evan Hack. You know what I would suggest? I would suggest a lot of drilling and flow rolling. Flow rolling. Don't be too competitive. You don't have to tell your partner you're flow rolling. Just don't be too competitive on the mat. Why? I'll tell you why. Because you're going to get sore. You're going to wear your body out and you're going to roll less. Okay? It's all about being on the mats more without getting injured. You're balancing the two. Get one of these bad boys and keep your body loose and limber. You get a lot more practice in. It's all about balancing, training as much as you can without getting injured. Okay? And what else can I say? I think about it jiu-jitsu all day long. Just thinking about going over the moves in your head makes a massive difference. Massive. And the other thing is be patient, Evan. It takes time. It does take 10 classes is nothing. You know, like be patient. Reassess every few months, 6 months, every year. Let's say every 6 months is better, but every 6 months to a year, assess, am I getting better? And what I'm doing correct? But it does take time for it all to click together. Okay, guys, let's sign off. We're at 1 hour and 28 minutes deep. You missed Sad's super question. Did I? Coach, you didn't read my second super chat. Oh boy. I'm getting overwhelmed here by super chats. Hold on, let me go back here. Pardon me, guys, while I scroll back for these super chats that I missed. I hate missing super chats. Are you familiar with Stoicism's opinion on suicide? What is your opinion on this? For me, it's the hardest part of Stoicism. Actually, I'm not familiar with their I'm not familiar with their position on suicide. Yeah, they believe suicide was wrong except under certain circumstances. Yeah, okay, well this I'm familiar with. They're anti-suicide. Yes, Socrates said famously that, look, I belong to God. Could you imagine if my cell phone killed itself? It belongs to me. So if one day I went to reach for my cell phone and it killed itself, I'm in very much agreement with this, by the way. I have the same view. Sorry, because I've heard this view before, but when you said Stoicism, this is not just the view of the Stoics. Okay, so the rationalists, Plato, Socrates, Aristotle, they had this view. Especially Socrates. Okay, he's very explicit about it in the Book of Phaedo. Very explicit about it. They say, look, imagine you have a cell phone here, and this cell phone one day I reach for it and it killed itself, and it's like, hey, the battery's dead, and it's, oh, what happened? Oh, it didn't want to serve you no more. What? God has this grand plan, and you pulled yourself out of the plan. No. Play it out. Do you have such little faith? Do you have such little courage that you won't play it out? No matter what comes your way, you got to play it out. I'm a big believer in this. Okay, You belong to God. Now, I don't see why that's a problem. I was created by God. I belong to God. I'm an object. I am flesh and bone. And this life was given to you, but it doesn't belong to you. It was given to you in a sense. You were created. I very much agree with the Platonic discourse on this. Okay, guys. By the way, guys, the thought experiment I gave earlier was to help you start thinking. Okay, it wasn't an answer. It wasn't trying to put an idea. It's all about get the gears turning, thinking about it, contemplating it. Sit there. Think. Let it stew. Over the years, you're gonna have new epiphanies, new thoughts. I know it might sound scary, but your brain will shift in different ways, and you'll have these new experiences, mental experiences. Okay, it's all made to be thought-provoking. Okay, it's very important. Jose Reyes, Coach, Coach, how good do you have to be to call yourself competent in BJJ? Thank you and enjoy your Thanksgiving if you celebrate it. Thank you, Jose. It is American Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving. I apologize for not saying this earlier. Happy Thanksgiving to you all. Our Thanksgiving was in October. American Thanksgiving is in November. Happy Thanksgiving to you all. And Thanksgiving is a great time to get with the family. Unfortunately, not with COVID. A lot of you are probably not able to get with your family members. So I'm very sorry to hear that for you all that are in red zones like us. Very difficult time, but hopefully you guys are still finding a way to enjoy your Thanksgiving. How good do you have to be to call yourself competent in BJJ? I would say at least a purple belt. Purple belt is advanced. Now you are competent. Blue belt should be you're still intermediate. So competent, I would say purple belt. Okay, guys, we are an hour and 30 minutes deep. How many people in the chat room? 787 viewers. Oh, not bad. Okay, guys. Other thing is, look, I want you guys to put in the comments what other videos you guys like me to react to. Okay, I'm gonna do Harris Peterson. That one's a lock. I'm gonna get that done. I'm always looking for new materials for this channel, so I know we're gonna be covering a lot of fights in the future, of course, as usual. But if you guys want me to do reaction videos, you gotta call them out in the comment section, and I'll pick one. If it gets a lot of likes, I'll do it. Okay. If that comment, let's say you say, Coach, I want to see you react to this video, and that comment gets a lot of likes, that means a lot of people want to see it. Consider it done. Make a philosophy channel. That's from Zafir. Zafir, I would love to, but unfortunately time doesn't permit. When I retire, I'm sure I'll start writing philosophy books and have a channel. This I'm pretty confident in. You forgot the question about anxiety. Osama Zaid, keeping me honest. Cracking that whip. Thank you, Osama. Okay, the anxiety question. Okay, guys, the number one tool for controlling your anxiety is your breath. Now, Dr. Weil, I remember he wrote a great book called 8 Weeks to Optimum Health, an old book, a book I read over 10 years ago. Must read. 8 Weeks to Optimum Health. Phenomenal book. I'm sure he has an updated version. Actually, I have to look that up. Actually, I haven't read any of his material in a long time. He says something really interesting that many great thinkers have said. I'm just paraphrasing him. He says, look at your breath. Your breath is both conscious and unconscious. So sometimes you're breathing unconsciously. And sometimes you take direct control and conscious control of your breath. So if I want to do rapid breathing, I can command my diaphragm to go into rapid breathing. If I want to play a video game and I totally forget about breathing, my breathing will take care of itself. My brain will run a program and that breathing will happen. When I'm sleeping, I don't have to think, hey, don't forget to breathe. No, it's all taken care of, guys. Of course. It's automated and it could be under your manual control. Now he says, look, anxiety is very subconscious. I have no reason to be anxious. I'm sitting in a board meeting and I'm anxious. Why am I anxious? Maybe there's a root problem in your perception of the room. But how do I manage this anxiety? So of course, if we wanted to discover that root problem, we'd have to get really psychological. We have to lay you down on the couch and start talking about your childhood. We have to get Freudian on you. But we're not going to go that deep. We just want to alleviate the symptoms. How do we do it? Well, Dr. Well says, you have to practice breathing. You could be a white belt in breathing, and you can be a black belt in breathing. Guys, I'm a huge believer in breathing exercises. Okay, I do many different type of breathing exercises, and I highly recommend the Wim Hof program. Listen, I bought the program online. I thought it was really expensive for not the program. The program is great, but you could find that all online for free. Is what I'm trying to say, or cheaper. But his program is great. So if you can afford it, get it. Okay, the Wim Hof, follow Wim Hof. His breathing exercises are phenomenal. Now, I do different type of breathing exercises. I do the Wim Hof and many others because I've found many resources over the years. Now, if you control your breath, you control your parasympathetic system and sympathetic system. So sympathetic system is when you're agitated, you're nervous, you're in the boardroom, something's bothering you, you're not sure what it is. But you want to alleviate that system. You want to turn on your parasympathetic system. Your parasympathetic system is, when you're calm and cool, like before you go to sleep, you have to be in parasympathetic system. You can't fall asleep if you're in your sympathetic system. Parasympathetic system is like, think parachute. It stops your sympathetic system. But that's not a good way to think about it. You don't want to stop your sympathetic system. You want to turn on your parasympathetic system, they say. How do we do that? By breathing. Okay, so I'll give you guys one of my favorite breathing exercises. Let me give it to you, Rick. 1, you exhale. You exhale for 8 seconds. Not inhale. Okay, we exhale. So watch. I exhale for 8 seconds. Ready? Watch this. I try to exhale everything I got in 8 seconds. I saved some because I want to talk. Okay. Exhale for 8 seconds. I got to cut it, but then you hold that exhale. You hold it as long as you can. Now remember, I was supposed to exhale all the air in 8 seconds. So it would be now I'm supposed to be holding my breath. So I exhaled. Exhale and hold it as comfortably as you can for as long as you can. Okay, so don't pass out here. Take it to about 85% of your holding power. The reason for that is you're going to take a deep inhalation because you exhaled so deeply and for so long. You starved your body of oxygen. When you inhale, you're going to naturally turn on the muscles that are responsible for deep inhalation. Now we're going to get the air as deep as we can in our lungs because our lungs are screaming for air right now. Now I'm going to inhale, but I'm going to inhale for 4 seconds. So that air's got to go in fast and deep. And then I'm going to hold it for another 8. So the air goes out for 8. I hold it for as long as I can. Comfortably. Then I inhale with 4, so half the time. So then then I hold it for 8. Then I exhale it for 8. Now I'm holding my exhalation for as long as I can comfortably. Let's call it 85% of my capability. Then I go through these cycles. Guys, you will get high as a kite. You don't need your recreational drugs. You don't need. Do this, you will get to different places. Now there are other exercises, breathing exercises, that'll take you to different places. The Wim Hof is a great one. He actually does it on the Rogan show with Joe Rogan, the hyperventilator one. It's great stuff. Now don't go too hard on it the first time because you can make yourself nauseous. You can faint. You can knock yourself out, so to speak. You can really doze yourself off. You have to build to a level of expertise where something's making me feel nervous. I can control my breath and I feel calm. You have to take yourself to the black belt level. Now, how long does it take to get to the black belt level? Well, it's daily practice for 10 years. Now, I think if you get to the blue belt level, it's already huge. It's already massive because now you have a control over your nerves. If you could take it to the purple belt level, it's massive. Like don't be so binary. Oh, it's like take 10 years. I can't invest 10 years. Don't worry about getting to black belt. The process is going to be enjoyable. Just get to blue belt. 6 months, you're a blue belt. Actually, you know what? Think about it as 10 lessons. You're already a 1 stripe white belt. You're already better than you were before. Get to that level. And the next level is going to happen by itself. Because you get to blue belt, don't worry about getting to purple belt. Just make it part of your routine. And all of a sudden, you have this great advantage where you can calm your mind when you need to. Alexis Vargas. Damn, coach, not a question. Just wanted to say thanks for your knowledge. Life-changing. Alexis, thank you, my brother. Hi, baby. Thank you. All right, here we go. Coach. No, this is from Raphael Astic. Coach, how do you make sure you keep your wife and children happy when you're driven? And do not let things outside the house. What do you mean? Don't let your wife and kids outside the house? I like this idea. This is very good. Let me keep reading. How to find the right balance between family time and work hobbies / studies. Okay, I hear you. You're not talking about actually imprisoning. Okay. I thought we were. No. Okay, so what you're saying is, how do you not let things outside the house interfere in the house? I think this is what you're trying to say. I don't think you wrote it correctly, but I think what Raphael Astic is saying is, Coach, how do you manage life and work? Your goals. You're so driven, etc. I want to make things happen. How do I not let the outside world and my life compete with one another? Well, I've read a lot of management books in my life, and they were really helpful. First things first is massive. The 7th habit that I spoke to about in this podcast, but he actually has a book called First Things First, where the whole book is on the habit 3. Look, you got to sit down, you have to talk with your wife. Like me, every week I have one night, just me and my wife. I spend a lot of time with my wife. I take her to the gym with me. I take her to trips with me. Like I involve her to a certain extent. So when I teach class, she'll come to the gym. She'll do her weight training. She'll do some jiu-jitsu with the girls a little bit. She'll do some technique. She's not training to be, she's not a competitor or anything, but we share in things. Like I make it a big point to share in everything my kids like. If my kids like a video game, I go and I play with them. They call me noob. They tell me that I suck. They tell me that I'm no good. They love killing me in the game, and I let them have it. I have many interlapping interests with my kids. So my kids, that like one of my sons got really into like skateboarding, the scooter thing. I'm with him. Let's go buy one. Let's go in the park, and we're doing the ramp. And I'm not interested in those kind of things, to be honest with you. It's not my thing, but it's his thing, so I do it. We do jiu-jitsu together. Like we have common activities we do together. Super important. Now with the wife, I have a special night just with the wife. I'll be honest with you guys. Especially, it's super important because you gotta have a communication with your wife, because it could be very complicated. I always tell a joke, when my wife's around, my friends are around. I always tell my friends, oh yeah, one time I always say this. My wife laughs. I asked my lawyer, asked him how much it would cost me to get a divorce. I go, write the number down on this piece of paper, and my wife's there laughing, she's like, and then when he gave it back the piece of paper and I looked at the number, I turned to my wife and I said, baby, honey, I start buttering her up. I start talking, all sweet to her. And I'm like, I'm telling my friends, I'm buying all these relationship books. And people ask me, oh, you make a date night with your wife every week? Oh yeah, it's cheaper. It's cheaper than divorce lawyer, man. Oh, I'll spend $100 on a meal. It's much cheaper than getting divorced. I'll joke around like that quite often, but there's a lot of truth to it. There is a lot of truth. I'll tell you why. So many people get divorced in the West, and so many of my friends are divorced. And it's always a nightmare. Now, I think it has a lot to do with society's changing, traditions changing, so many other crazy things. But one of them is couples lose contact with one another. When you have a kid, you forget. You're all about your kids and the routine and your jobs, and you kind of lose touch. Me personally, I took a different strategy. I work hard all week. I kill it all week, and then I spend time on the weekend with my kids and wife. But I have one night just for the wife. Why? We stay on the same length. And I always tell my wife, look, when I'm taking care of business, I'm taking care of the family. But I make time for them. If I'm on the road, I'll either bring her with me one night, like to spend an evening with me, or I'll take a night off from the gym. I have to balance it out. Now, are you losing some time? Yes, you are. But you wanted to have a family, didn't you? So you're going to lose some time. Now, when I was younger and I had only martial arts, I was 24/7 martial arts. Like, there was just no limit. Then I decided I have a wife and kid. Now I got to make time for them. So I have to have limits, guys. At the end of the day, that's why you see so many, it's kind of hard to say, but like so many people who are successful, they had a time where they were just about themselves. Like when I was younger, it was just about me, like my career, I should say. Like, of course I had my parents and my extended family, but they don't need me 24/7. I stop by for a dinner here and there. Then I go back to my projects. But I was all about my projects. And you have, in my opinion, you have to have a time like that in your life to get yourself to a certain point. And then you got to decide. Like, for instance, George, before he retired, he was all about his career. Now he has a family life. He has a social life. He has things he didn't do in the past. Like if you invite George for dinner, he'll come, he'll spend time with your family. Before he wouldn't do it. Why? I have practice tomorrow. I got to get to bed. He had this routine that was military. Then when he retired, people were like, hey, that's ridiculous. Why would he retire? Look, he could make so much more money. Yeah, but you don't understand. For him to go to fight night, for him to make it to fight night, like he has to give up this many months of his life. All you see is fight night, but look at all he did to get to fight night. How much of that life are you going to keep giving up? And then all of a sudden you're in your 50s, your 40s, and you haven't lived. You've lived on TV. Yeah, you've had some great, fun, memorable moments in your life, in your sports career. But what does that amount to in the end of the day? Don't get me wrong. It's great. It's an incredible experience. But it's secondary to family. Family is the greater experience. It can be. So you're like, okay, I want to have this family experience. I grew up as the child in the family. Now it's my turn to be the papa. Well, you know what? That's going to cost. It's going to cost. And if you think it's not going to cost, you're crazy, because you're going to be a poor father. So it's a question of balance. Yes, I do have to give up some. But the little you gave up is so much more. So what? You won one more title. Don't get me wrong. That's really important, and especially in my life when I was younger, it was all on my mind. It's the only thing on my mind. Like, make it. But what's the point of making it if you have nobody to spend, to care about, to give it to? I think this is the benefit of balance. Like, don't be all about family early on. Like some guys are like, oh, I want to have a kids at 19. Like, why? Like take your time. Like it's still there when you're 25. It's still there. Like, build in these years. Build. Get that education. Get that career. Do it. Family life is going to be a lot smoother and easier, and it's going to be there. And you're going to be more mature. You're going to appreciate it more. So that's my my advice to you. Gemini June. Okay, guys, I might end it on this one. How do I dissect an instructional? Yours are great. John Denner's are very intellectually heavy. How did you get the most out of them? I do flashcards. That's from Gemini June. Look, Gemini, I had the privilege of training with John in the practice room. So I totally know what you're saying. I've seen his instructionals. It's like taking a university course. It's phenomenal. Every detail, like he's a genius. The man is literally a genius. Okay, literally. I'm not saying that as a compliment. I'm saying that I'm describing him as a genius. He's literally a genius. Okay. How do you get the most of it? You got to rewatch it. I'm telling you, he's shown me armbar so many times that every time he showed it to me, I relearned something. I learned something new. Like, there's just an abundance of information. So, like, if he shows me armbar tomorrow, next time I go see him, it's gonna be new again. That's how much he's innovated it since the last time I worked with him. Flashcards are great. Reviewing it in your mind is great. Reviewing the videos, if you're going with videos, review them. So I was lucky to be able to work with him physically every day. When we were in training camps with George, like, I was there watching him. And he's a genius at work. Now, I appreciate you complimenting my instructions. My instructions are very different. Mine are straight to the point. Like, I jump at the jugular. I'm like, guys, these are the 4 moves you need to know. This is how they work. These are the details. Make sure you know them well. Rewatch it and memorize it. Okay, here's a key concept. I'm very in a nutshell. Why? Because I feel that that's the way that I had more success teaching. Because my mind might wander. My mind, like, I read a lot of books. I love books that get to the point. Sometimes, an author will be like, hey, let me make the book twice as much. So when the guy pays $20, he's like, look how much I got. I'm the opposite. I don't want fluff. I'm the total opposite. I'm not saying John has fluff. No, every word is perfect. It's amazing. But I'm talking about authors. Sometimes they have like 5 good lessons they want to give you, and they give it to you in like 30 chapters. But he could have done it in 4. He could have lumped 2 lessons together because they're similar. He could have done it in 4. But he gave you 30 so that you feel like you bought something. Like, look how much I got. People are sold by fluff quite often. Okay. Now, John is anything but fluff. You're right. It's intellectually heavy. It's 8 hours long, and it's chock full. It's intimidating. I'm the type of guy where I want to give you this one lesson, and this lesson is going to stay with you for life. Why? Because it was so punchy. Like, it was one topic, and it was so punchy you can't get it wrong. It's like my way of, like, I show you spend 1 hour with me. I showed you one thing. I believe if you spend 10 lessons with me, you got 10 things, and you can't forget them. Whereas if I give you this long block, I can create some confusion. But for John, the way his mind works, he can handle that much information. He can handle one gem after another, and he expects you to review it 50 times. I want you to watch I have a different approach. I want you to watch my video once, and you already got something from it. I want you to watch my video 20 times. Don't get me wrong. But that one time, the first time you watched it, the lesson was so vivid and clear, and it was repeated, and it was the theme was so in your face. Then when you go back, you're like, hey, no, he told me, like, he told me one thing so clearly, I can't forget it. Like, if you hit me over the head, I'd still remember. That's my style of teaching. Like, if we have 10 lessons, there were 10 clear things for me to do. Now it's up to me to go to the mat and make it a habit. So we have some different teaching styles. Now, if I'm sitting there with a seasoned black belt, I'm going to go more John's way, perhaps. Because John, like, he gives you so many details. If you're not an experienced guy, sometimes it's hard. It's very intimidating. Like, okay, well, what was that first and second thing you taught me? Because now I'm at 8, 7, and 8, but it's just could be intimidating. But then again, he has a fundamental series. So if you're a beginner and you go into his fundamental series, now John he's a very smart guy. Like, he made videos for advanced guys, and he made videos for fundamentals of jiu-jitsu. And those ones where he takes the basics to the next level. So even somebody who's never done jiu-jitsu in their life can follow. So there is that balanced approach, but mine is tailored for like a good blue belt who wants to jump to purple belt, a purple belt who wants to jump to brown belt. And here's this one video that's going to push you 10%, and it's so hard to get it wrong. Okay, I hope that was clear. Okay, guys, let's end this bad boy. We're in almost 2 hours. This was a fun podcast. I hope it was fun for you guys. It was fun for me. And let's see, maybe we do one last one. Thanks for the stream, Coach. Thank you, Azudu, my friend. Thank you. Hey, Faraz, just checked on your instructional on kids headlock escapes and really loved it. I'm going to teach it to my kids at the academy. Thanks for the great content. That's from Kazi. Kazi, my man, I forgot to mention my sons came out with, I did an instructional with my sons on headlock escapes. I really appreciate you mentioning that. Thank you. I think it was really, really well done. And it, you know what? I labeled it as a kids instructional. I shouldn't have. I used my kids to do it because kids are always headlocking each other. But all the escapes in that video, we go through standing escapes on the ground. They work for adults. Like, if you're an adult and you want to learn how to get out of the headlock, buy that video. Okay, I use my sons as the the bodies in the gym, I make them do it on each other, and they know the escapes very, very well. Anytime a kid tries to headlock them, it always ends up with them getting out and on top or taking the back. I train my kids religiously on escaping the headlock. Okay, they do it beautifully. They're very, very good at escaping. Why? Because every time they wrestle a kid, big, strong kid, first thing the kid does, headlock. So I'm like, you know what? Let me spend a year teaching them headlock escape over and over again. Okay, we got another super chat. 1 year I can visit. Love you, coach. That's from Cookie. Cookie, love you too, my friend. I've had a brown belt. I had a brown belt do a heel hook on me. Held it off for about 2 minutes, then broke out on my choice. White belt, Ronin, I am, sir. Are you trying to say you broke out of the leg lock from a brown belt? Well, you know what? That's pretty risky, Cookie. I recommend you just tap. Like, don't flirt with leg locks, because you might have got out this time, the Cookie. And I'm saying this for your best interest. Just tap. Don't worry about it. You got to learn to tap, man. When you get to black belt, you're still going to have to tap every so often, but a lot less. It's going to be very few between, but you got to just accept it. It's part of the game, okay? When you tap, just learn from it. But don't be stubborn and get your leg broken, because you're going to retire from jiu-jitsu at a very, very early stage in your career. For us, you're the best. Tell that to my wife. I keep trying to explain that to her. She just won't understand. Thank you. Hello, coach. Would you rather fight GSP or Khabib at gunpoint? Swapnil. That's a tough one, man. That's a tough day in the office. I don't know, man. Is it a fight to the death, no time limit? It's a tough one. At gunpoint. Okay, let me give you an answer. Well, I'd probably take Khabib because he's my size. I say he's closer to my size. George is pretty big. George is a big man. Yes, fight to the death. Swapnil. Oh, yes, so of course. As only a coach, that's the only fight I would get into. Fight to the death. What else we got here? Okay. Coach, a late connection for me. Oh, Marco Castro, my friend, my dear friend, Marco. Yes, you're gonna have to replay the video, my brother. You're gonna have to replay it. Okay, here we go. Alex Premo. Just tore my ACL in BJJ. How can I mentally get over this and fear of going to the mats again? Thanks, coach. Alex, you're gonna have to do some serious research. That's a serious injury. I want you to go to SSL, Sierra Lima, Sports Science Lab. I want you to get their video on their pool workout. It's not expensive. They sell those. George does the pool workout religiously ever since he's tore his ACL, okay? Now, I want you to follow your doctor's protocol. I want you to do the back to play. You know, they have a system for how to get back to your sport slowly, step by step. Do all that. But once the doctor's rehab is done completely, and he says you can go back to your sport, integrate the pool workout for your knees. Read the Supple Leopard. Get really good with Supple Leopard. Learn about Kelly Starrett's Supple Leopard book. It's a gem, guys. I can't do enough justice to this. If you're into training, guys, you got to get into Kelly Starrett's work, Supple Leopard. It's a must know. Okay, you got to get one of these bad boys. Okay, you shouldn't have ACL tear. Kelly Starrett says 98% of injuries are preventable. 98% of injuries. Two things to know: good form and tight muscles. If you always have good form and you never have tight muscles, you shouldn't get injured 98% of the time. Okay, so my dear friends, SSL Sports Science Lab, they have a pool workout which teaches you how to. It's really simple. You're basically access to a pool, but there's so many benefits to pool for rehabbing. George St. Pierre, ever since he learned it, he does it religiously. He's in mega shape and super healthy. He's 39 years old. The guy gets on the mat. He's incredible. And mine too. Look, I'm still very, very healthy. Like, I'm 40. My neck, my back, my shoulders, my knees, thank God. Like, I'm super, super healthy. Thank God. But it has a lot to do with Supple Leopard, Guys, I can't say this enough. Like, I use this thing all the time. And I don't get to the pool very often, but when I get to the pool, you're guaranteed I'm doing the pool workout. Guaranteed. 100%. Coach, will you come to a seminar, to Toronto for a seminar? Absolutely, 100%. Once we reopen. Okay, guys, time for one final question. We got to end this one here. Let's do one last one. Wrap it up on a positive note. Something cool, something positive, not too long. And we've banked a 2-hour episode. Boy, you answer one super chat and another one pops in. Bang Bubba. I said a short one. Coach, where do religion and spirituality come in philosophy? Much love. I appreciate your podcast. Well, that's be a very, very long question. Listen, when we talk about philosophy, we have theists and atheists, and the battleground is a small circle. When you get to a higher ups, most people stop reading. They just don't go that far. I like to consider myself as one of the guys who went extremely far. And I keep going. I haven't stopped. I love to study philosophy of both atheists and theists. But this is what we call small circle philosophy. There are very few people talking anymore at this level. And where does it come in? Well, let me take a page from Schopenhauer. Because you're asking me, where does it come in? Look, Schopenhauer says this, and many thinkers said the same thing. The oldest thinker that I could think of is Ibn Arabi, a Muslim philosopher, a Muslim thinker. Ibn Arabi, phenomenal thinker. But if I gave you a page to read of Ibn Arabi, you would read it and say, "What? I don't understand anything I just read." This is very hard to read material. Very hard to read material. One, you have to understand their culture and their background. The words that they're using are not easy to understand. It's just tough. You need a guy like, I hate to say it, but you need a guy like me to read it and explain it to you. If you don't understand the world that they're coming from, it's just very hard. Or you need a trained philosopher, I should say, a person who's trained in this type of thinking. Because the things that he's referring to, Ibn Arabi was like the Immanuel Kant of Muslim philosophy. Okay, so Immanuel Kant, if you're not a professional philosopher, you won't understand anything the man is saying. When Kant wrote, he was writing for professional philosophers. Kant never used examples. You know how I gave you that I always give examples? That's because I'm trying to reach a large audience. I'm trying to explain it to a friend. Kant would never do that. Kant would be like, why are you wasting my time with these juvenile examples? Just talk to me directly. I could understand what you're saying. Kant was very cutthroat in that sense. He would talk as, you better be a black belt philosopher because you shouldn't be reading my writings if you're not. Kant was writing for professionals. Then who cares if the average guy knows what he can't. Kant, he wasn't like a mean guy or anything. But he wasn't trying to address the average Joe. He wasn't. He's not interested in that. In his mind, Kant believes that if you're a great thinker, nobody could stop you. You're going to reach the higher levels. If you're not a great thinker, we couldn't help you. We couldn't make you a great thinker. But I still don't believe that that's right. I think that if somebody's not destined to be a great thinker, let's say they're more artistic, or they're more athletic, or they're creative, or they have some other gift, but logic is not one of them. Like they're good at logic, but they ain't going to be great. They have common sense, but they ain't going to reach the level of Kant. I still think we can take philosophy and say, look, this is what philosophy is saying. Let me make it more palatable for you. And then they can maybe discover if they have a passion for it, and let's see if they rise to the top. Who are you to say this guy can't rise to the top? That's my personal opinion on that. Okay, I guess it's like saying, hey, that guy will never make it in fighting. 10 years later, that guy's a world champion. And he has a bunch of stories of people who told me he'll never make it. I don't want to be one of those people. Okay, I'm not one of those people who tell somebody they can't make it. Here's what I like to do. I like to say, look, let me make it really simple for you. Let me make it easy. It's like, imagine you're jiu-jitsu black belt and you're showing me armbar, but you're breaking it down for me. You're not patronizing me. You're not looking down on me. You're just trying to say, look, this person has never seen armbar. How would I feel if I never saw armbar? How would I explain it to myself if I never saw an armbar? Well, this is how I would do it. I'm putting myself in your shoes. And it's up to you to decide if you want to master this technique or not. It's up to you. Like, here's a taste. So what I was saying about Schopenhauer. You're asking me, when does religion and spirituality come in? Well, Schopenhauer said this. He said, look, let me look at the world. Let me take away everything everybody's ever told me. Ibn Arabi said the same thing. Let me take away everything anybody ever told me. Ghazali said the same thing. Let me just go back to zero. René Descartes said the same thing. So many great thinkers said this. Okay? He says, look at this object. There's an object. And look at my body. There's another object. There's this object here in the universe, and there's this object here, my body. And he says that's the representation. Like, I see this thing out there. There's this object, and my hand is also an object. But look at this hand. This is a weird object. This one is weird. This one, there's like a will. I can move this object. I can't move this one around. This one feels like, because he says, Schopenhauer says, everything is will. I'm going to explain what that means. Okay? Everything is will. Will and representation. Now, I don't want to go off on a tangent for you Schopenhauer experts. I know he ultimately boils it down to will, but somebody who's never heard this before, I have to go with the first building block. He says, look, there are objects in the world, and I'm an object in the world, but this object, this one here, flesh and bone, is a weird one. Why? Because I have something called will. I can move this one around. It feels like it obeys me. There's this thing inside here, we called it earlier the ghost in the machine, pardon the term. I'm using something I think Western listeners will be able to really connect with. It has this will, whatever you want to call it. I can't put it in a test tube, but it's there. And this will is driving me. It's directly observed. Now, Schopenhauer I could talk to you all day about Schopenhauer. He was very pessimistic. Hegel, another great thinker, German philosopher, another great one. He had a very similar understanding. Again, many thinkers said this. There's a will inside and there's this external world. And look, this is what we're seeing, like it or not. And Schopenhauer came down to later on to say that everything is will. The will that I feel inside is being represented by this body. A very, very profound view, guys. I can't do it justice now, but Immanuel Kant took us to the guy I was talking to about, this super genius guy, this incredible thing. He took us to this incredible complex predicament called the egocentric predicament, which I won't describe now because it'll take too long. And then Schopenhauer came right after him, and the philosophers, we call it the narrow door. He called it the narrow door, but we refer to it as the narrow door at large because we accept his description. He says, look, Kant gave us this incredibly difficult predicament that seems unescapable. And look, I opened this little door for us to escape. Now, whether we escape or not, that's another. This is a small circle conversation. But Ibn Arabi did the same thing 600 years before. He identified the egocentric predicament and he opened this little door. And one day we'll have a broad discussion of this. But isn't it true that we're experiencing this type of dualism? At least in category. You have this internal experience in your body, and then you have this external experience where you see this body of yours, but then there's this other internal experience. And Schopenhauer's belief was this will, this drive I have to eat, drink, hunt, dominate, reproduce, all that, this internal will drives the entire universe. In fact, that's the only thing that exists, because all the physical objects you see in the world or just a representation of this will. So this is what we call idealism. Everything is, let's call it a dream. Okay, so now we're in small circle philosophy. Very logical people talking here. Actually, I should say the most logical people in history are saying this. Like how in a dream, that object of yours, if you're in a dream and you're holding a cell phone and you see your hand and you feel that will, Schopenhauer is saying, look, that body of yours is not really out there. It's all in the mind. And that will is all there is. So you know how Freud sat you on a couch and he said, look, tell me about your dream. And you're like, well, I don't know. You think of something really crazy. You're like, you know what? I had a dream. I threw my wife out a window. Well, you got mother issues, he's going to say. You never got along with your mother, so you married her. You married you guys, I don't know if you guys know this, but Freud was famous for saying that the Oedipus complex, that you fall in love with your mother when you're young, and then you're going to find a girl similar to her, and then whatever your relationship was with your mother, it's going to be very similar with your wife. You're going to have the same, you're going to exercise all the beef that you have with your mom. If you did have beef, I'm saying, you're going to project it onto your wife. So if you chuck her out the window, it's like, you must have had a really bad mom. Whether you accept Freudian view or not, Schopenhauer would tell you something very similar. He would say, look, if you had a dream of yourself chucking your wife out the window, I should have chosen a better example. Forgive me, I didn't prepare for this. This is all improv. If you had such a dream, he says, your will, you have a bitterness towards your mother, that's why you dreamt that. Well, Schopenhauer would tell you your waking life is identical. Because he was an idealist. Everything is idea, like how your dream is all an idea. Your waking life is an idea. And why he says that is a very complicated view, not for today. But this is something we talk about. One day we'll talk about idealism, materialism, and dualism. The three competing worldviews. Massively interesting. Like, this is like incredibly interesting. But a topic for another day. Guys, thank you for tuning in. Please like, share, and comment. And I hope to see you all